तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापित देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So welcome to the Sri Harinam Chintamani series, especially this Sunday onwards. We are beginning with the most important offenses among all the offenses, which is also the root of all offenses, that is inattentive while chanting. Nama Prada Pramad. Pramad is inattention. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has, in his Sri Harinam Chintamani, devoted an entire chapter on this inattentive chanting. And in this series of discussion, we will follow a format where we will be discussing the Bengali verse, which is in English, and the translation. At the same time, in the PowerPoint, we will go elaborately on each of these themes in the particular sections which Bhaktivinoda Thakur is mentioning, like the offense of inattention. It is spoken in verses 2 to 5. So after discussing the Bengali verse and the translation, then we will go into the PowerPoints and elaborately discuss certain important salient points from these verses, Bengali verses. And we'll also refer to very, very important references from the Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita to further elaborate these verses, Bengali verses, to further give some more deeper insight of what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is trying to say in his Bengali verses. So that will be the methodology we will be following in our discussion. Devotees can keep themselves in the mute mode. And as we are discussing, I will be discussing few verses as sections. Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself has made the sections. And then I will go to the PowerPoints. So as we are discussing, if devotees have questions, they are free to raise their hand and we will take up these questions as and when they come up. Okay. Chapter 12, Inattention while chanting. It's so important. And if we can take care of this one thing, then we can avoid all the other offenses and ultimately attain the highest goal, that is Krishna Prem. Nam Aparadha Pramad. First, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says what is Pramad? To be inattentive while chanting the holy name. Then he, in the text 1, invokes chapter 12. Jaya Jaya Mahaprabhu, Jaya Bhaktagan, Jandera Prasada Kari, Nama Sankirtan. Glory, glory to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, glory to his devotees. It is by Lord Chaitanya's mercy that I chant the holy names. Jandera Prasada Kari, Nama Sankirtan. So this Nam Sankirtan was inaugurated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Yoga Dharma. And only by his mercy we can chant the holy names. In fact, the Sankirtan pastimes during Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were manifested when he was present 500 years ago. And after he left back to his abode, the Sankirtan pastimes and the preaching pastimes have continued. In fact, it is as good as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's extended Sankirtan pastimes. So the Hare Krishna movement, or ISKCON, which is propagating the teachings of Mahaprabhu, is an extension of Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement, which is going on. So Prabhupada is to speak about it a lot. So it is by his mercy we are chanting the holy names, and it is his Sankirtan which is being spread. It is an extension of his own pastimes which is happening even now also. Now text 2 to 5, Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks the offense of inattention. Pramada namake aparad. So what is this offense of inattention? He deals in text 2 to 5. Let us take text 2 to 5. Haridas bole Prabhu, heta sanatane, arata gopal bhatta, dakshina brahmane, shikhaila apramade, Shri Krishna bhajana, pramada ke aparada, karile ganana. Haridas Thakur said, Haridas bole, O Lord Prabhu, you taught to Sanatan Goswami, and while traveling in the south to Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Heta Sanatana Arata Gopal Bhatta Dakshina Brahmane. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to his South India tour, he also taught Gopal Bhatta Goswami. What? That one should not be inattentive in worshipping Lord Krishna. Shikhaile apramade Shri Krishna bhajana. Inattention is counted as an offense. Pramada ke aparad karile ganana. So inattention, although sometimes Padma Puran, it doesn't list among the 10 offenses. We say, while every day we chant the 10 offenses, it is also offense to chant inattentively. But here it is mentioned inattention is counted as a offense. So there is a footnote. Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions Lord Chaitanya said to Sanatan, that is in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 22, 134. Eka anga sadhya kahe sadhya bahu ang nishta hoila upajaya premera taranga when one is firmly fixed in devotional service, Nishtha hoila, whether he executes one or many processes of devotional service. Eka anga sadhya, keho sadhya bahu anga. One can perform one limb of devotional service or many limbs. The waves of love of Godhead will awaken. Upajaya premera tarang. Now, it is very interesting. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is quoting this verse. Where is anywhere here pramad mentioned? How this verse is dealing with pramad or inattention. This verse is saying that if you perform one limb or many limbs, you will ultimately float in the ocean of love of Godhead. So where is pramad mentioned here? Actually, there is pramad mentioned, but we'll have to think deeply about it. Now, I will ask the audience the question. Anyone can state where is pramad mentioned here, or where is the question of inattention here brought out in this verse? Anyone would like to try and think about it and answer? Where is pramad actually being dealt? Okay, there are two hands which have been raised. What about the other audience? I would like to hear from others also. Anyone else? Okay, Birendra Yadav Prabhuji. Yes, Birendra Yadav.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandot Pranam. Am I audible, Prabhuji?
Yes.
Prabhuji, it is when one is firmly fixed in devotional service. This word firmly fixed,
yes,
it indicates pramad. If we are not firmly fixed, that means it is pramad.
Yes, excellent, excellent. This is the most important word here. Nishtha hoile upajaya premeratara. If there is nishtha, then you'll attain prem. So we commit pramad because we are not firmly fixed in our faith is not strong. So here, first one should abandon pramad, inattention. Then faith in the practice of devotional service will take birth within him. One should abandon pramad, inattention. Then faith in the practice of devotional service will take birth within him. Now, again, I have a question. We are all practicing devotional life because we have faith, Shraddha is there, Sadhu Sang, and we are doing Bhajan Kriya. So how is it that, it is mentioned that, we should abandon intention and then faith in the practice of devotional service will take birth again. So which faith is Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaking here? Which faith is Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaking here about now? Yes, Maya Narasimha Prabhu has raised his hand. Yes, Maya Narasimha Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, here faith means the faith at the stage of Nishtha.
Yes, excellent. The faith at the stage of Nishtha. Shraddha sabde Vishwas Sudrida Nishchay. Krishna Bhakti Kailay Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. As it is mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is also quoted by Srila Prabhupada in Bhagavad Gita 2.41, I think. Vyavasayatmika buddhi eke hi kurunandana. So when the faith is very feeble or komal shraddha, that time we do this pramad, inattention. We are not attentive in our devotional service. But when the faith is nishtha, firm faith, then we don't commit this pramad. And only when our faith is very strong, then we, avoid this inattention, and then we can attain Krishna Prem. Very, very important point to be noted. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur is going to clarify that in text 4. Anya aparad teji sada naam aloy tabu naame prema nahi hoy ta uday. Awaken, please awaken and hear what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying. Anya aparad tyaji, avoiding the other offenses. Sada namaloy, one may regularly chant the holy name. Tabu nama prema nahi, still one will not attain pure love. Na hoya ta uday. Uday means it will not take birth. One will not attain pure love for the holy name. If one avoids all other offenses and one regularly chants the holy name, still one will not attain Krishna prema. Then he I am attaining Krishna prema. How I can text 5 explains. Jnani pramada namete aparad sadhamite offenses pramad. Tabe jnani pramad. It blocks the attainment of pure devotion. Sadhamite J. Bhat means box. So if I'm not attaining Krishna prema, oh, there is no disturbance. Hare Krishna, yeah, there is some disturbance. Let me change the connection. Now is it audible? I think it is better now. Oh, it's not audible. Is it now audible? I've changed the audio connection. I hope it is clear now. Yes, fine. So I'll once again recite text 5. I know this offense as pramad. Tabe jani pramad namite aparad. It blocks the attainment of pure devotional love, prema bhakti. So if I'm very careful to avoid all the 10 offenses, I've been regularly chanting the holy name, and still I'm not getting Krishna prema. Then what is the conclusion? We should come to that I am committing this offense called as pramad. So now let us go to the PowerPoint where I will be taking this section 2 to 5 in detail. Now, anyone has any questions regarding verses 2 to 5, what we have discussed till now in Bengali? Anyone has any questions can raise their hands. Any questions, any clarifications up till now? So, okay, now let me share the slides regarding pramad, the inattention in chanting the holy names. Nama prada pramad, inattention while chanting. You can see he's absorbed in chanting, but the thoughts are flowing up and the intelligence is wandering, making plans and schemes. So internally, what is happening in the inner world, sometimes we also don't understand, and that is because of inattention. So especially this pramad, inattention, is very, very deep rooted in the heart. And we'll have to make an internal journey now to understand this pramad, which is the root of all offenses. And if we take care of pramad, then we can become free from all the other 10 offenses. We will never commit the 10 offenses at all if you take care of this one offense. So I will be going now and explaining very, very important points in the PowerPoint about this pramad, the offense of inattention, text 2 to 5. Srila Haridas Thakur is now propounding knowledge on a very common type of namaprad known as pramad or inattention. it is explained herein that even if one is diligent in avoiding all other namaprads, if he is inattentive during service or chanting, the pure results of Krishna Prem will not be there. It is both chanting as well as service. And in fact, if you are inattentive in a chanting, you will be inattentive in your service. If you are inattentive in your service, you will be inattentive in your chanting. So both are vice versa. The reason for this is because the mind becomes bewildered by the glare of material nature. When whatever the mind is thinking about is where the attention is placed. And when the attention is placed on anything but the spiritual realms associated with Sri Krishna's holy name, the result will be material. So now we are coming into the deeper reason of why this pramad happens. Because in the inner world is the mind, intelligence, and the false ego, the subtle body. And the modes are what cover us. The modes are psychological forces which act on the mind. So these are the modes which really, cover the soul, the pure soul. And that's why the mind, which is having its attention on something else, the attention is placed on something else other than the holy name, then the result will be material. Herein, we are discussing about aparad chanting, which is different from abhas chanting. Now, we know there is namaprad stage, namabhas stage, and shuddhanam. Abhas is, as we had defined, it is a dim light. Just like the sun is covered partially by fog or clouds, the full potency or the full sunlight we cannot experience because the sun is covered by the cloud or the fog. So that is called as abhas. Abhas is just a dim light. Abhas chanting is due to anarthas, which are like clouds, which do not allow to access the full potency of the spiritual sun of the holy name. Whereas aparad in chanting occurs due to neglect or inattention, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur's, or extended neglect over a period of time. So this aparad chanting is firstly because of inattention or neglect. We are not paying full attention while chanting. And this has become our nature over extended period of time since we have been taken up to spiritual life. And that's why the disease is deep rooted. Just like a person who takes up to drinking alcohol and he becomes addicted to alcohol, and the sooner does he take the treatment to become free from this addiction, the easier it will be from him to become free from the disease of what will affect his body. But over extended period of time, like years together, now he's an alcoholic, deeply addicted to alcohol. He has, deeply affected his organs. His organs are very badly affected. So the treatment for the disease is very deep, and we'll have to really work very deep to become free or uproot that disease. Firstly, the habit of alcohol. Secondly, to treat the disease. Similarly, over an extended period of time, because of chanting, inattentive chanting, the disease is very deep rooted to the soul. So we'll have to work very deeply on our chanting and to become free from this namaparad. Now, with respect to this attention, there is an important concept of meditation. Let us understand the word meditation. The word meditation is not a spiritual word in and of itself. After all, even murderers meditate on how they will take their victim's life. Everything requires planning and contemplation and meditation to execute, be it something positive in the spiritual sense or negative in the material sense. But saying this, if we use the word in a spiritual sense, then it implies placing the mind on the Lord's name, qualities, form, and pastimes. So, to meditate means to meditate on one's. Oh, sorry, there is some. The statement should not be there. So, to meditate means what? We should focus on the Lord's holy name. Now, where does actually now this pramad happen while our chanting? Please raise your hand and you can try out an answer. Where does pramad happen when we are chanting? After understanding what is meditation, where does pramad actually occur? Two participants have raised their hands. Okay, 4 devotees have raised their hand. I'll give chance to Pavana Balagovind Prabhuji, very senior devotee and very, very determined and dedicated in his hearing and chanting. Yes, Pavana Balagovind Prabhuji?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. The answer is that on the Lord's name, when the name, on the name itself, we have to, there where the pramada occurs, because we don't listen the name what we are uttering.
Yes, not only we don't listen, the mind is not fixed on the name.
Name, yes, that is what.
The mind, when it is not fixed on the name, and the mind gets fixed on or hooked on to anything material, that is the time when we commit this offense of pramad. You have got it exactly. Excellent. To attain the spiritual world, one must meditate on the spiritual. Meditation on the spiritual can be understood by its symptoms. So if while chanting, we are meditating on the holy name and our mind is fixed on the holy name, we are uttering the holy name from our mouth, and with a focused, calm, still, steady mind hearing the holy name, then we are meditating on the spiritual, and this meditation of the spiritual has its symptoms. Now let us see what these symptoms are. The meditation symptoms. There are 3 symptoms for us to understand whether we are meditating on the spiritual. There are 3 symptoms. One is humble, gaining attraction for the Lord, and losing attraction for Maya. So please try to reflect on these 3 symptoms. Try to reflect and see whether when we are regularly chanting our holy names, our regular japa rounds, whether we are having these 3 symptoms. After chanting, we are experiencing genuine humility. We have become attracted to Nam, attracted to the Lord, and our attraction to Maya has slackened. Is this happening to us? Please do this check. It's an everyday check for us to do. So if we are not experiencing these 3 symptoms, then the mind, which has been absorbed in matter because of unlimited impressions in the chitta, in the heart, has been regularly trying to hook on to matter even while chanting. That's how we can understand. The science that will be elaborated upon this chapter is a very important one for those who desire to become free from the clutches of Maya. And the pivot of success is attention of consciousness. The pivot of success is the attention of consciousness. So we all have experience, especially parents have experience with children. If the mother or the father, suppose the father is working on the computer doing some activity, some work, and the child lovingly comes to the father and is asking something the father turns his attention to the child, and when the child is speaking, the father's attention goes back to his work. Immediately the child can sense, and he will say, "Father, you are not paying attention to me." Similarly, while chanting, if our attention is not on the holy name, if we are not consciously fixing our mind on the holy name, which is spiritual, immediately the Paramatma in the heart is there. He will realize, oh, my attention is somewhere else. So he is not present in the holy name. So what you chant is just names. As Bhaktivinoda Thakur will say, Nam Akshara Loy, Namana Loy. Only the letters are coming out from the mouth, but the name is not coming. Because Krishna is present in the name, and you are not conscious that Krishna is present in the name, and there is lack of attention. So this is a very deep science, and here it has been mentioned, the pivot of success is attention of consciousness. It is only possible for the mind to be consciously focus on one thing at a time. Now, this is a very important principle which we should remember. And as long as we don't apply this principle in our spiritual life, be it for any activity also, it is difficult to get success. Now, how many devotees can be honest and raise their hand and tell us that we do multitasking? How many devotees, please raise your hand and tell that we do multitasking in our activities? Okay, there are 7 devotees. Oh, many are still 10 devotees. Maybe 10 devotees are 11, 12 out of 22. So first thing is, make it a resolute determination to give up multitasking. And I'll tell you, doing multitasking gives a certain kind of intoxication to us. It gives an intoxication to our ego, saying that, oh, I'm so expert in doing many things at the same time. This kind of intoxication, which we feel, we become proud about it, that we can do multitasking, actually is the trick of Maya. Maya is cheating us when we think that we can do multitasking. I remember one devotee was giving a lecture in an open theater on the dais, and he had his mobile, and he had a small mobile where a message came in, and while speaking in the lecture, he saw the message, he typed the message, the reply, and he continued speaking. So the devotee who had sent the message, he was just walking towards the stadium where he was giving, not a stadium, a small open theater. And this devotee had sent the message, and he immediately, oh, I have sent a message to the devotee, but he's on the dais speaking. But he was shocked to receive a reply, and he was shocked that he's already giving a lecture at the same time I'm receiving a reply. So this kind of multitasking, when we can do, it really is intoxicating for the false ego, and we should avoid it. And as long as we cannot avoid this multitasking, we cannot become free from the aparadha of pramad. So now let us try to understand this science, how, the mind can only focus on one thing at a time. We might have some questions about it. Let us see. Here, you may question, well, don't we talk while we are driving? We all have this experience. We are talking while we are driving. We do this many times. So how do we understand that mind can consciously focus on one thing at a time? How do we understand that? The answer to this lies in the autonomic region. That is, a person will focus on a task while the task is being learned. But once that task has become a learned phenomenon, the task can go on without full attention being given to it. So this is a important principle we should learn. Especially take the example of driving. When initially we started learning to drive a car, we went to the school, the car driving school, and here is the gear, the left is the clutch, the right one is the accelerator, the middle one is a brake. So all our consciousness was absorbed while learning. Sometimes we are looking in the front and then we are looking at the gear. Sometimes our leg is going there. We are getting confused. But as we learn how to drive, these functions become what is called as autonomic functions. We automatically start performing these functions and we don't need any attention. And as we become expert in driving, we can be with our friend and we might be having a very heart-to-heart discussion with our friend. And at the same time, we might be spontaneously using our hand in changing the gears, using the legs in applying the accelerator or the brake or the clutch, because they don't need attention now. Our attention is there in the heart-to-heart conversation which is happening with our friend while driving. So we can do this, but there is a deeper phenomena also what is happening with respect to this principle. Let us see that. Therefore, the attention may be taken away for specific amounts of time and placed back according to when it is needed. Now take this example here very carefully, and you might have experienced this also. You are driving, you are an expert driver, and you have been having a heart-to-heart conversation with your friend in the car, and you have been attentively hearing what your friend is saying, and at the same time you are driving. Now suddenly in the front there is some emergency, or there is a junction and there is cars which are moving, and suddenly what happens is your mind's attention goes there. It focuses what is happening in the front, because you'll have to slow down, you'll have to allow the there is a bullock cart or there is a tractor in between, so your attention goes there. At that time your friend is still continuing to speak, and although the ear is hearing, the mind's attention is what is happening front here at the junction. So once you cross the junction, you cross the tractor and you are able to take over, and then you go on the smooth road again. At that time, what has happened? All the actions of driving again have gone in the autonomous mode, and again your mind and heart attention is on a friend. Oh, what did you say? I did not hear. Can you come back again? You say like that, right? It happens. So the attention for a specific amount of time is placed back according to when it is needed. As I was giving this driving example of a particular situation where the consciousness goes back to the traffic there, which is required, your mind should go there. In this way, a person may be doing one thing, such as driving a car, and then also doing another, such as talking. But in actual fact, the consciousness is only placed on one thing at a time and merely jumps from one thing to another at lightning speed. So, how the consciousness jumps from one thing to another, it happens at such a speed, such a high speed, we cannot imagine. And because it happens at such a high speed, we think, we are doing multitasking. No, but the consciousness shift is happening from the traffic to back to my friend's heart-to-heart discussion. Or the consciousness was in the heart-to-heart discussion, suddenly the consciousness jumped on the traffic. And this happens very fast. The speed of the mind is as fast you can imagine. That is why the Brahma Samhita says, Pantastu Koti Shatavat Samprabhami. You can travel at the speed of mind. The mind is so fast. In 1 second, you can think about someone in America, and the mind is there. Your consciousness is there. Within 1 second, you're there. So this is how the speed of the mind is. Similarly, now we are coming to that point when we chant while focusing on the mind's conversations. Conversations and future visions, we will miss the subtle spiritual journey. So when we are chanting, at that time, if we are caught up in the mind's conversations, the mind is like a dictator from within. It will keep on murmuring something, speaking something, or sometimes you might have some future visions. But caught up in all this, we actually miss the subtle spiritual journey. The speed of the mind is restricted in the material realm because it has these coverings. We are being covered by the gross body. However, there is no restriction in the spiritual realm. Therefore, one must be attentive so as not to miss out. So, this travel of the mind in the spiritual in the material realm is restricted. Prabhupada in the Bhagavad Gita speaks in the 3rd chapter, 5th verse, Nahi kaschit shanamapu api jatu tishtat akarmakrit. Karyate hi avashak karma sarva prakriti jair guner. Not even for a moment, nahi kaschit shanamapi jatu tishtat akarmakrit. One cannot be without doing any work. The soul is active by nature. And Prabhupada in that purport, it is very, very interesting. I will show you that because the statement what Prabhupada makes is very, very profound. That gives us an idea that how much the soul is potent in the spiritual realm. Jatu tishtatya karma krit. That Prabhupada says it is not a question of embodied life, but it is the nature of the soul to be always active. So the soul is highly active. And even in the embodied life, it is active. So to give an example, just like what is a sack race. Sack race is you these gunny bags, and in the gunny bag, you have to have a 100-meter run race. Now it is very difficult holding on to the gunny bag and to run. Now without the gunny bag, you can run faster, you know that. Similarly, the soul is active in this bag. This body is like a bag, the gross and the subtle body. So the soul is so much active with this bag of subtle and gross body. Now imagine how much the soul will be active without this, gunny bag in the form of subtle and gross bodies. So that is the point here Prabhupada is making in this verse. And that is the point here also, that the mind speed is restricted in the material realm, but there is no restriction in the spiritual realm. The soul has no restriction. The soul is, Nitya Sarvagata, as Bhagavad Gita 2.25 says, that it can wander anywhere in the material realm, and also it can go to the spiritual realm. An inattentive sadhaka may therefore be performing a task related to the spiritual world, such as dressing the deities or chanting the holy name of the Lord. Now, please remember, devotees, that all activities of devotional service are not of this material world. They are completely of the spiritual world. They are not part of this material world at all. So if you are dressing the deities, actually you are doing this activity which is done in the spiritual world of dressing Radha and Krishna, or you're chanting the holy name. The chanting of the holy name is also not of this material world. So an inattentive sadhaka may be performing activities of the spiritual world. That means spiritual activities. But if his attention has wandered to items in the physical material world, or even the subtle material items within the mind, his meditation and actions are mundane as opposed to spiritual. So you might be doing spiritual activities, but if your attention or mind is something on material thing, then your meditation is not spiritual and it is material. In this way, we can see that everything depends on the consciousness, or where the conscious attention is placed while performing an activity. Of course, there is always some benefit for performing spiritual activities such as dressing the deities or chanting the Mahamantra. And such benefits have the power to uplift one out of the mud of Maya. So, although these activities of chanting or dressing the deities might not be done with full consciousness and full attention, there is some benefit we get, that we get uplifted from the mud of Maya. But as Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, the supreme goal of Krishna Prem will not come about until full attention is placed in the spiritual stratum. So this was also what Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentioned in the verse, if you saw. Avoiding the other offenses, one may regularly chant the holy name, but still one will not attain Krishna Prem, and the reason is lack of attention, pramad. So pramad blocks us from attaining Krishna Prem. So that is the point here in the slide. This is called total absorption samadhi. So total absorption in one's activity of chanting or dressing, or even while taking prasadam, in fact, is samadhi. The teaching of this text is that sadhaka should be very careful about where his attention is placed always. This teaching was given to Srila Sanatan and Gopal Bhatta Goswamis directly from the lips of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That also Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentioned in his verse. For natural growth to occur in a swift manner, Sri Harinam Chintamani hereby instructs everyone to be careful about the offense known as pramad. This offense is gradually overcome by consciously endeavoring to control the mind. Meditation is an aspect of smaranam, remembrance. So in the Navvida Bhakti, there is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam. So meditation means smaranam. And as long as one is not attentive in hearing Krishna Katha one is not attentive in what he has heard to remember and recollect in the form of making notes and revisiting the notes, or mentally trying to remember the points, or hearing and then preaching. Preaching is kirtanam. So one who with utmost attention hears Krishna Katha, then he makes notes and understands what he has heard, and then preaches, is doing kirtanam, then only one can go to the stage of sparanam, meditation. So meditation is an aspect of smaranam, and smaranam has 5 divisions of deepening concentration and absorption. So this smaranam is a very advanced stage, and that's why I'll ask a question. 3 activities in our spiritual life, Krishna conscious activities. One is hearing a class. Second is sitting in a wonderful, beautiful kirtan, which is going on in the temple. Third is sitting in the temple and chanting the holy names. Among the 3, which is the easiest and which is the most difficult? Raise your hand. Shushil Radhika Mataji. Let us hear. Yes, Mataji, I've unmuted you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, sitting in temple hall and listening kirtan.
That is what?
Easiest.
Easiest. Which is the most difficult? There are 3
Chanting. I don't remember now other 2, but I
Okay,
feel
okay.
when you're sitting. Okay.
I'll tell you. So among these 3 activities, the activities, one is sitting in the temple and hearing a class, sitting in temple and hearing a kirtan, which is happening, and sitting in the temple and doing your japa. Among these 3, which is the most easiest, which is the most difficult? Which is the most easiest? You said kirtan, that is correct. Which is the most difficult?
But I feel when you're sitting in temple, all activities are easy.
No, not so.
But I feel
among
that
these
you know,
3,
when,
among these 3, which is the most easiest, which is the most difficult? Which is the most easiest, you said, is kirtan.
yeah.
Which is the most difficult?
Prabhuji, from my personal experience, I feel when I'm in temple, I feel all the 3 activities are easy because you're in the association of devotees, and that positive vibrations are there of temple, deities are there. So that time I feel that is easiest. When you're sitting at home and you're chanting, that is difficult. That is most difficult thing.
No, you're doing a comparison about the home and the temple. Now I
But
understood
that's what
why.
I'm telling you, Prabhuji. I feel when I'm in temple, my
Now
concentration
my
is.
question is, I'm within the temple. All these 3 activities are within the temple. Hearing a lecture, sitting and hearing a kirtan during the festival, and sitting and doing japa. All 3 activities are within the temple. Among these 3, which is the most difficult? Are you getting now?
Maybe japa.
Yes, not maybe, it is japa. You might sit and hear a kirtan for, festival kirtan for 2-3 hours. But if I tell you sit 4 hours and do japa, it is not so easy. Because for doing japa, you need full attention and concentration because it is an aspect of meditation. Mohan Rup Sham Prabhu has mentioned as kirtan is easy and listening lecture is second easiest, second more difficult, and the most difficult is actually japa, doing japa. So that's why japa requires deep concentration and absorption because it is meditation, dhyan, it is meditation. Now, this will be dealt in the 15th chapter of Harinam Chintamani. Now, we are discussing the 12th chapter, that is Pramad, inattention. But when we go to the next theme, in fact, part of this seminar, that is confidential secrets about bhajan, especially the secrets of absorbing ourselves in bhajan, Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks about that in the 15th chapter. And that is one of the most important chapters for us to how deeply go into our bhajan, especially chanting. And there Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions about these 5 different dashas. If devotees have gone through nectar of instruction, you would be aware in text 8 of nectar of instruction, it is mentioned Tannamarupa Charitadi Sukirtanano Smartyo Kramena Manasa Rasana Manasi Niyojya Tishtan Vraje Tad Anuraga Jananugami Kalam Nayetiti Kalam Nayet it Upadesha Saram. So Rupa Goswami in that text 8 mentions Martyo Kramena. We should remember Krishna Kramena, stepwise, gradually. How? Rasanasya Manasa Nyoji. By engaging the tongue and the mind in Krishna. Krishna's form, qualities, pastimes. So there it is mentioned that our mind should be fixed in Krishna, and that goes through these 5 stages, which is called as dasha. Shravana dasha. Dasha, it is not dasha or dasa, it is dasha. Dasha means the state. Shravana dasha is where devotees are constantly engaged in hearing Krishna Katha. Now, Varan dasha is where it is called as the stage of acceptance, where we become attached to hearing Krishna Katha. And this happens usually at the stage of Nishta, where the mind is very, very fixed in hearing Krishna Katha. In fact, when we go and sit in a class, our mind gets absorbed in hearing Krishna Katha, and the mind doesn't get distracted from so many other things. We are, with ekagra chit, with one pointed attention, we are able to hear Krishna Katha and we are relishing it. So, Shravan Dasha to Varan Dasha is a very, very long stage in our Krishna conscious practice. Practically from Sadhu Sang, Bhajan Kriya till Anarth Nivritti, and when we come to the state of Nishta. And Anarth Nivritti and Bhajan Kriya is a very, very long stage in our spiritual life. So the more we hear Krishna Katha, the more we chant, the more we absorb in spiritual activities, the quicker we can pass through this Shravan Dasha and come to Varan Dasha. So in Varan Dasha, we become attached to hearing Krishna Katha. And then comes the stage called as Smarana Dasha. So because meditation is an aspect of Smaranam, and this Smaranam is when we just go and sit for chanting, we just simply get absorbed in our chanting and nothing troubles us. The to-do things or the exhaustion what we had from our full day activities, we just go into ecstasy while chanting. So we can imagine this stage is a very elevated stage, the Smaran Dasha. Now within Smaran Dasha, there are these 5 sub-stages: Smarana, Dharana, Dhyana, Anusmriti, and Samadhi. Now Smarana means the remembrance is there, but it is not constant. Dharan means the remembrance is there, but it is interrupted because of distractions. Dhyan means the remembrance is constant, and even if distractions are not there, if they are there, still you are able to remember. Whereas Anusmriti means continuous remembrance, and Samadhi is full absorption. So when one goes through this Smaran Dasha, through these 5 stages, when the Smaran Dasha fully develops, we understand our constitutional position. Jivera Swarupoy Krishnera Nitya Das. Now, as I was mentioning, Varan Dasha from Shravan Dasha to Varan Dasha is at the stage of Nishta. Now, from Nishta, you go to Ruchi and Asakti in these stages of Smaran Dasha. And in Apan Dasha, we attain the stage of Bhava. Only at the stage of Bhava is our Swarupa revealed. and what is our rasa with Krishna is revealed. And Sampanti Dasha is perfection of life, clearly understands his eternal relationship with Krishna. Sampati Dasha is the prem, attaining Krishna prem. Now again remember what Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, that if we are not able to give up this pramad, inattention, we cannot attain Krishna prem. And to give up pramad, we'll have to be focused in our attention, our consciousness. And in our chanting, we should be completely meditating on the holy name. And meditation goes through these 5 stages. Now, when we go to the 15th chapter of Sri Harinam Chintamani, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is going to elaborate on each of these 5 stages: the Shravan Dasha, Varan Dasha, Smaran Dasha, Apan Dasha, and Sampati Dasha. At that time, we will be going into more detail. Now, just a hint is given now of how these different levels of deepening of our concentration and absorption in the holy name can happen through these 5 stages, and within this Smaran Dasha, the sub 5 stages. Any questions, any clarifications anyone has up till now what we have discussed? Okay, so Vaiju. Okay. You have a question? Okay, Prem has a question. Yes, Prem Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandot Pranam. Can you hear me, Prabhu?
Yes, yes.
So, Prabhuji, of course, most of us are in the inattentive chanting, mode only, and
Yes.
especially in houses where there will be always tens of things, and kids and all. So, whether we are doing our altar service or we are doing a chanting, there's always somebody coming in, asking or talking to you, or wanting something from you, or even in your normal routine work also it is always there. So how do we try to regularize that, bro? Because it's
Okay.
it's reality we can't escape out,
Yeah.
and be able to
Yeah, I understand. Your question, that especially just a minute, I will connect my laptop. Battery is down. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, especially for devotees who are out in the job, looking after family. How do we, in our spiritual practices, have this kind of absorption where we don't commit this offense of pramad? Now, for this, what I would like to suggest is what Srila Prabhupada suggests in Bhagavad Gita 10.9. Now, this is a very important principle which is spoken in 10.9. Machitta matgata prana bodhayanta parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Machitta, minds fully engaged in me. Their lives are devoted to me, and they preach about me, and they talk about me perpetually, and they take pleasure, and they enjoy transcendental bliss. So Prabhupada in the translation says, the thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. So, the thoughts have a residence, and that residence is Krishna. And in this commentary, Prabhupada mentions, does the realized souls in Krishna consciousness take continual pleasure in hearing such transcendental literatures, just as young boy and girl take pleasure in association? So this is a principle which I want to elaborate, and this is actually Prabhupada is taking from Baldev Vidyabhushan. Baldev Vidyabhushan gives this example. Just like a young boy and a young girl who are sitting in the garden, the lover and the beloved, this is what the terms are used. The lover has given his heart to the beloved. And because his heart is in the beloved, his mind doesn't function. His consciousness is absorbed in the beauty of the beloved, in the sweet talk of the beloved, and he is taking pleasure in it. If for any chance in his consciousness, in his mind, it rings, oh, hold for a minute, I have to make a call. Immediately, the beloved will become upset. We know that. So similarly, we as devotees should put our heart in chanting. There is a principle which is said that when the heart is open, the mind is closed. And when the heart is closed, the mind is open. So in our spiritual activities, we should offer our hearts to Krishna and find out which are, the deities which attract us the most. Maybe it is Radha Gopinath or Radha Shyam Sundar or Radha Madhav. And you chant for their pleasure. Just like husband and wife take pleasure in their sweet talks, and their heart is there because they have love for each other. That's why the consciousness is absorbed there. The parents have love for the children, and when the children are talking to the parents, they take a lot of pleasure, especially their sweet talks, and they focus their full attention in serving them. Similarly, the same principle we should apply to the real object of love, that is Krishna. And that is how we'll have to do this balance, especially in our family life, that we should, while doing our activities with respect to the family or with respect to the world, we should put our heart and consciousness there. But in our spiritual practices also, we should open our heart to Krishna and not allow the mind to wander during our spiritual activities like chanting or any other activity. I hope it is clear, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji. We'll have to, it is only the, we'll have to get it.
Any other questions anyone has? We began a little late today, sorry for that. And so I'll just take one more question. Shushil Radhika Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. My question is, when you said we should be fully concentrated in chanting while chanting, but I feel when I'm listening Krishna Katha, that time when I chant, that time I'm more focused, that time my mind doesn't wander any other places. So still we don't have to do that, or how it is?
No, while hearing Krishna Katha, when you're and simultaneously chanting, you're able to be focused.
Yeah, means I feel that time at least I'm hearing about Krishna, but when I'm chanting alone, just like that, but I'm sitting, that time I feel my mind wanders more.
No, I'm not able to get a question. You mean to say that maybe you are sitting in a lecture and you're hearing lecture at the same time you're sitting and chanting, that time you're more focused? That's what you mean?
Yeah.
No, that's not possible. Again, as we are mentioning that we are getting cheated when we are trying to do this multitasking. We cannot do that multitasking, and it's not that we can simultaneously hear the lecture and simultaneously chant. What to speak of hearing a lecture and simultaneously chanting? If you are chanting with a group of devotees, you should also sit in a place where you can sit and hear only the sound vibration coming from your own tongue, from your own mouth. You should be attentively hearing the mantra which is being uttered by you. If you're hearing other devotees chanting their mantra, that is also not so beneficial. In fact, many devotees, as a practice, what they do, because they are not able to concentrate, they keep the Prabhupada Japa on, and they hear Prabhupada Japa and they just turn the beads. That is also not recommended. It can be in the background, the sound, can be in the background, but you should not be able to hear it. You should hear only your mantra, because this kind of absorption of the consciousness, the soul's consciousness is required in chanting, and it's very demanding, it is difficult. That is why we try to do these other things. Now, in a temple, when we go and sit surrounded by devotees, that becomes a favorable atmosphere for us to focus the mind on hearing the mantra, which is conducive. But we should hear the mantra, what we are uttering, and not what the other devotees are chanting. Otherwise, that is also in one sense a distraction, because we'll not get the full benefit of the chanting the holy name. That is the point we should be clear about.
Prabhuji, while chanting, if we are focusing on some of the leelas of Lord, is that okay?
Better not to do that. We should focus on hearing the mantra. That is what Prabhupada recommends. Just hear the mantra, Nam. When we become expert in hearing for a long period the name, automatically when we take the name, the form of Krishna manifests in the screen of the mind. And that happens because of the purity of the heart, or a period of time because of continuously hearing the Nam. So Nam, Roop. Roop means form. Then Gun, the wonderful qualities of Krishna in the heart manifest, and the heart soaks in contemplating how wonderful qualities Krishna has. Aho Bhakyam Stanakalakutam, Kamba Dayalu Sharanam Brajayame, as Uddhava was saying. And then automatically the Leelas, when the Chit is completely pure on the transcendental platform, the Leelas automatically manifest. So if we are trying to, think of the pastimes and chant, actually we are not attentively hearing the mantra, and it will not be so much beneficial. And it is not practically possible to think about the pastimes while hearing the mantra as sadhakas. Only siddhas who are on prema level can do that, who are in bhava and prema level. Is it clear, Mataji?
Okay, Prabhuji, thank you so much. Dandavat Pranam.
Anyone has any other questions? There is one question in the chat box. I didn't understand Varan. Sunita Mataji asked. Varan Dasha is the stage of acceptance where one is attached to Krishna Katha. If you had a habit of everyday morning going to the temple and hearing Bhagavatam class, although you might not relish hearing Bhagavatam class, but over a period of years hearing and now understanding the philosophy, you are very eager. Oh, when will 8 o'clock happen? When will I rush to the temple? And when I rush to the temple, I just sit focused and absorbed in hearing Krishna Katha. We become attached to Krishna Katha. We become attached to chanting the holy names. So that is a very elevated stage. The Varan Dasha itself is a very elevated stage, which happens over a long period of hearing Krishna Katha, right from our beginning 7-day Bhagavad Gita course or DY course, when we took up to Krishna consciousness, where we become attached to reading Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and regularly attending in the temple the classes. Over a period of time, we have now understood the philosophy, and now we are relishing the philosophy. So that is the stage of Varan Dasha. To give an example, just like when we dig a well deep down, the deeper we go, then we get the water there, then the water starts coming up, rising up in the well, and the water starts overflowing also. So similarly, many years of hearing Krishna Katha and reading and chanting, we feel the natural urge that, I want to preach this philosophy. I want to share this Krishna Katha with others. This is natural and spontaneously, not that somebody is telling us to preach because to give us some engagement. No, there is a natural inclination to speak Krishna Katha to others, because so much the heart is filled with Krishna Katha that now I want to share. Just like the well is filled with water which is coming from bottom, and it is overwhelming and it is flowing out of the well, something like that. Okay, Satyanarayan Prabhuji has a question. Yes, Satyanarayan Prabhuji.
Krishna Dandavat Prabhuji. Prabhuji, after finishing this 16 hours of precept chanting, is it okay for chanting while driving, Prabhu? This multitasking aspect?
Never to do that.
You should be avoided always.
Yes, if you are doing 16 rounds of attentive chanting, and the next 4 rounds you do inattentive chanting, that inattentive 4 rounds what you are doing, that habit will come in your 16 rounds.
Okay.
So chanting means full attention. So if you are off the beats, then you can hear kirtan, you can hear best is to hear kirtans
Or
or bhajans, or the Mahamantra kirtans or bhajans, because there is no need for lot of attention required, because if you are hearing a lecture, you have to be attentive of what is being spoken, the philosophy. So best is to hear bhajans or kirtans. Is it okay? Okay, so we will stop. So we'll stop now here. So in the next class, we will take more on what is definition of pramad, what are the different kinds of pramad. Pramad has deeper levels in it. There are 3 types of pramad, Bhaktivinoda Thakur will speak. That we will take up in the next class. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai, Shri Harinam Chintamani ki jai. Hare Krishna.